Welcome to summer. So now this is a very special video to kick off the summer season in the year 2K22. And here's why I say that. Number one, you'll see there's a new box, and this is not an eBay purchase, but rather a purchase from Dell. Yep. I actually, and I'm gonna confess this on camera, so sorry Mom, sorry Dad, but don't worry, I didn't use all of the money I received to purchase this server. But I'm recording this on as the date of recording this is June 9th, 2022, and there's a reason why I'm recording this on this particular date. Remember how in the Dell XPS M1210 saga video I said that my grandmother had just passed, and that you know the video was those videos were dedicated to her? Well, this video is also dedicated to her because as of the day of recording this, June 9th, would have been Grandma Kleinberg's 93rd birthday. I'm sure she celebrated it up there with my grandfather, who passed when I was not quite a year old, in 1998, if you're curious. But anyways, I inherited quite a bit of money, not, $1 million like Eric Cartman did on that one South Park episode. So no, I did not buy North Park Funland to have my own amusement park. No, I did not buy Six Flags Great Adventure to have my own amusement park. But anyways, all South Park jokes aside, I used a small portion of the money I inherited from my grandmother to buy myself a new server. What happened to my old server, you may ask? Well, I had two old servers. I had a Dell PowerEdge T110-2, which I sold on eBay and made about $400 for. And I have my Dell PowerEdge SC430 over there, which is a Pentium D based server. Had that for a little while now, and that's currently running Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.1. And I may or may not sell my old PowerEdge SC430. Chances are, though, I probably will sell it, because if I do want to spin up a Linux server, I'll probably get a rack server to play with Linux on. Maybe not so much a tower server. And I did try to install RHEL 9 on there, and it kernel panicked upon boot, which tells me the CPU is probably too old for RHEL version 9. However, version 8.1 runs without issues. So, without further ado, let's get on with the unboxing. So, yeah, I mean, this server, I ordered this back at the end of last month. It's now the beginning of June, so Dell got this to me very quickly. They were saying it could be till August when this came in, but nope, it came today, so here we go. Oh man, look at that. Haven't bought a server from Dell in a real long time. So we'll go ahead and just make sure the camera's in focus. So on top here we've got the accessory box where I should have a keyboard and mouse. I don't actually remember if I ordered this with a keyboard and mouse. No, I did not. Okay. Well, that is okay because I have a keyboard and mouse. We got a power cable. Just your standard server power cable. Put that to the side. Here's the literature. We have the enterprise products from Dell EMC. Yep, just warranty and support. Something you'll certainly want to read. The very brief quick start guide to the Dell PowerEdge T150. Yep, that's the server I got. There's the illustrations on the back if you're curious. And the enterprise product safety and regulatory information. It certainly isn't what you would get from Dell back in the day if you purchased a computer from them, or a server for that matter. No reinstallation discs, no keyboard and mouse, no thick owner's manual that's 1,000,000 pages long. Anyways, oh boy, this is my favorite part. Here it is, guys. Here it is, my loyal subscribers. The Dell PowerEdge T150 server. And I did a pretty good job keeping that in frame. So we'll take off the styrofoam here, put those back in the box. And I'm probably going to save the box. Oh man, that's a beauty. That certainly doesn't compare to my PowerEdge, the PowerEdge 2900 I once had, which I had to sell. when in moving because I couldn't fit it in my car, unfortunately. But there she is, the Dell EMC PowerEdge T150 server. Now, just on a note here, this is a base model chassis. I didn't really, because again, I only spent about $850 on this because, you know, I could have spent a lot more money on it, but I decided to save money and get a more basic configuration. So here's the front. We've got the power button here, information button here, USB 3.0, and I believe a USB-C port. Here's the knockout plug where an optical drive would go. Dell EMC logo here. On the sides, pretty much nothing. And on the back, we turn it around, and I shall show you the ports. So let me get the camera in focus. Aside from the power on top, go down to the ports. We have VGA, 15-pin VGA here, 9-pin RS-232 serial, the RJ45 jack for the iDRAC, the built-in iDRAC. For those who don't know, that is the integrated Dell remote access controller. That is for remotely accessing your server, especially if you have a PowerEdge and the server doesn't boot. You can use the iDRAC to boot it into the OS. A USB 2.0 port here, super speed USB 3.0 here, 2 gigabit RJ45 Ethernet jacks here, 4 USB 2.0 jacks down here, information light, and 4 knockout plugs for expansion cards. So we'll turn this around. I'm going to go ahead and open the chassis, and yes, there is a chassis intrusion switch on this, so that's going to be fun, disabling that in the BIOS. Now let's see how well you can't see that at all, can you? Okay, so let's zoom out. So on the cover here, we've got the diagram of the server. We have one 1 terabyte hard drive here. We have slots for 3 more drives, which I will be adding another drive, as you'll see in just a moment here. That's why I opened this up. CPU, fan, and heatsink here. It's an Intel Pentium, the lowest model they had. As far as expansion cards, there's 8 gigabytes of RAM up there. You can't really see it because of the power supply, but there is 8 gigabytes of RAM in this, DDR4. Got some expansion card slots down here, PCIe times 4, PCIe times 16, PCIe times 1, and another PCIe times 4 slot there. There's also an onboard USB port on the motherboard, which is always nice. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install a second hard drive in this. So what I have another 1 terabyte. This is how I saved a little bit of money. This is one way I saved money. I have a 1 terabyte Western Digital Caviar Green drive that I pulled from an old PC, which I no longer use. This was originally in a Dell XPS Media Center PC. So I figured, what the hell, let's install it in the server, because it would make more sense to install one of these older mechanical drives in a server than to install it in a Windows 10 box. So we're going to go ahead and line up. The nice thing about these Dell server caddies, hard drive caddies, is that you don't need any tools to properly mount the drive. You simply line up the pinholes and it clicks into place, and then you simply just slide the drive on in. Oop. And one of the screws came loose. I wonder where that came from. Okay, well, I'm not sure where that screw came from, but I know I put the drive in the right way because it clicked in. Cheap stuff. Anyways, let's plug in the power, and let me go grab a SATA cable, and we will plug this into the motherboard. So let me grab myself a SATA cable here, and we'll get this plugged into the motherboard. So we'll plug this end in here, and it looks like the SATA ports on this board are... Where are the SATA ports? Oh, wait a minute. Is this? Oh, okay. Well, that's a little interesting. The oh, I see. I see what Dell did. So the SATA ports, intriguingly, are actually not on the motherboard. Instead, you have this SATA splitter here, that has the SATA connections on them. Okay, well that's interesting. I've never seen that with a server before. On my PowerEdge T110-2 and PowerEdge SC430, the SATA ports are built right onto the motherboard. So let's see how this... Oh, you know what? I don't even need this SATA cable. Because you know why? Because I just realized the adapter, I believe, is female on these SATA connectors. So that means, I could be wrong, I never remember male, female, just like I can't remember masculine, feminine conjugations in Hebrew. But yep, I didn't even need a SATA cable. All I needed to do was plug that in. So yeah, HDD1 is connected and ready to rock and roll. So let me put my SATA cable back over here. We'll go ahead and close the case. And then I'll move on to number 2, how I decided to save money. So that's number 1, getting only a single 1 terabyte hard drive with it to install for all my data. And yep. And so yeah, and that's one way I saved money, because I had a second 1 terabyte drive that I could use for other data. So now that brings the total storage of this server to 2 terabytes. Yay. Now the next thing I didn't get was an optical drive, and the reason being is because, as you all know, there's 2 ways you can install Windows on this, via USB, or the way we're going to be doing it, via verbatim external optical drive. So, yep, and then the third way I saved money is I did not get this with any operating system. Yes, I know, for those of you who are just getting into IT, servers are one type of computer that you can purchase sans an operating system, and I have done that here because if you want to get it with Windows Server 2019, about $600 for the standard edition. You want it with Server 2022, about $700. What I have here is an OEM never opened copy of Windows Server 2022, $80. Yep, genuine installation media. So we're going to be installing this on this server. So let me get it set up in my tech closet, and we'll get rocking and rolling on this. Okay, so I've got the Dell PowerEdge T150 hooked up to my trusty Dell monitor, flat panel monitor from around 2000 or 2001. The iDRAC has just initialized. I have an APC battery backup UPS in there, and the server is now ready to be powered up. So let's go ahead and do it. And yes, I realize the iDRAC light's going to be amber because I don't have an Ethernet cable plugged into it, but you know what? I'm going to set up the iDRAC later. It's not essential to my plans right now, so here we go. Turning on the system. So we're going to press F2 to go into the setup. We're going to go into the BIOS first, so I'm going to hit F2. There we go. We're pressing F2 for setup. I'm going to go ahead and eject my external optical drive. And I'm going to keep pressing F2. There we go, entering system setup. So we're going to go into setup. We're going to take a look at what we have. Then we will unpack our copy of Windows Server 2022 here. Beautiful Dell EMC logo. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, there we go. We are in the setup. Okay, and because this is a newer Dell server, we have a GUI actually. So let's go to the system BIOS first, and we'll pull up the system information. So we've got a PowerEdge T150, BIOS version 1.2.5. There's the service tag in case you want to look that up. The Uefi information. Pause the video if you want to read that. Here's our RAM. We've got 8 gigabytes of error-correcting code DDR4 RAM, running at 2666 megabytes per second, 1.20 volt memory voltage, 16 megs of VRAM. We don't want the memory test enabled. There's other stuff you can do here as far as error-correcting code and other types of RAM issues, but we're just here to look. We're not here to change anything. Here are the CPU settings. We scroll down. These are just some CPU features. we have an Intel Pentium Gold G640 6405T at 3.5 gigahertz, 4 megabytes of L3 cache, and two 256 kilobytes of L2 cache here. So a total of 512 kilobytes L2 cache. Go back. Let's take a look at our SATA settings and make sure that second drive is detected. So port A, yep, there we go. Drive 1 is detected, 1 terabyte. Actually, wait, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. We have the Western Digital drive here. It's a 1 terabyte drive for port B. There's our Western Digital Caviar Green. And another 1 terabyte hard drive in port A. So we have both of our drives are detected. Excellent. So there's a bunch of other stuff on here as far as network, integrated devices, serial. So we're going to leave that as it is for now. Now it's time, if I can make sure I'm in the viewfinder here. Yeah, I'm not. I'm way out of the viewfinder. Come on. Okay, there we go. Let me zoom out, actually. Make this a little easier. So now it's time to unpack our copy of Windows Server 2022. Here we go. Opening for the first time. Oh boy. Oh, and Microsoft went back to the small COA design, because in 2019 they gave you a large COA, but 2022 they give you a small one. Who knew? Anyways, there we go. There's our disk inside this package. And what I don't like about what Microsoft does is they put a seal on top, and it's very easy when cutting said seal to scratch the disk. So let's try not to do that. Just carefully open this up. Okay, there we go. Okay. You never know which side you're supposed to cut. Alright, look at that. Windows Server 2022 standard. Beautiful. I'm going to put this into the external optical drive and close her up. We'll need to scratch. I'm going to get a coin to get that product key. So let me find a coin somewhere. Probably have one on my dish here. Or not. Okay, well, I'm going to have to go to the kitchen real quick to get myself a coin. That is something that's really annoying about Microsoft COAs, how Microsoft blocks out the key and you have to scratch the... I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. And I have a dime, or a nickel rather, to scratch off the product, or just to enter the product key. So we're going to exit and say finish. Yes, I'm sure I want to exit, and we are going to reboot and go to the boot menu. And usually on Dells, the boot menu is F12, but let's see what it tells me in just a minute here. Okay, initializing, okay. F11 is boot manager, so let's hit F11 and go to the boot manager. And in just a sec, we should be able to boot off of our Windows Server 2022 disk in my external optical drive. Okay, boot menu. So, oh, you know what I just realized? Let's do one-shot Uefi boot menu and see. Optical drive connected to USB 1. Okay, thank God. I was a tad bit concerned there because I do know that with Uefi systems, sometimes they don't like to be booted off of external media. There we go. Press any key to boot from CD or DVD. That is a relief to see that message. Okay. Here we go. Loading files. Oh, and I forgot to zoom the camera back in. Whoops! Okay, that's the best vantage point. So we'll go ahead and zoom in. And yeah, this is actually a very nice moment in my life. And you know what I did? It's called being proactive, you see. I know that whenever I order in the very rare times that I do order something from Dell, they ship it via FedEx, and FedEx always requires signature confirmation. Well, knowing me, I'm a typical 9 to 5 Monday through Friday worker, right? So obviously, I'm at work all day. And today I had to work a little bit later, but I don't mind. I mean, that's what I do. It's IT. That's just how it is, right? That's how it is. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a horrible joke. But anyways, so basically, yeah, I realized that, I think I may have done this once in the past. Apparently, if you want FedEx, if you know that you're going to have to sign for something and you know you're not going to be home, at least here in Jersey, if you leave a note on your door with your signature and you tell them to please leave the package at the front door, they'll do it. Now, I don't know if that works with every FedEx man or woman, or, you know, I'm sorry about the, you know, the gender stuff these days. I wasn't born into, didn't grow up, with all these preferred pronouns. That's all foreign to me. But anyways, yeah, so basically, yeah, I left them a note, and I didn't even have, and they accepted my signature right then and there. So, ooh, we have a slightly different install screen here. Microsoft Server Operating System Setup. Yes, English, no, actually I want to make this in Belarusian. That would be beautiful. No, I'm kidding. So, looks good. Instead of the Windows logo here, it just says Microsoft. Just has the Microsoft logo. Install now. Setup is starting. So it's probably going to ask me for my key in just a second here, so let me, activate. Oh, they changed the text a little bit. That's interesting. Activate Microsoft Server Operating System Setup. So it tells me about the product key, so here we go. You can skip it by clicking I don't have a product key, as you can with Windows 10 and Windows, I believe Windows 11 allows you to do that too. But, yep. Okay, scratching off the product key here. Let me put the key in. I'll be right back. So this is annoying. I entered an incorrect, it said the product key was incorrect because I mistyped the last, a letter in the last part of the key, and it said the product ID you entered is not valid and made me restart the entire installation. Thanks, Microsoft. It has this well-loved feature called activation. Sorry, didn't mean to throw in Bertrand Surlet there. Anyways, we want Windows Server 2022 desktop experience. Next. So we'll go ahead and read and totally agree to the EULA. Let's do a custom installation. And, okay, so here's how Dell partitioned this. So there's a recovery partition. There's a 2 GB OS partition, which I'm not sure why Dell even created that, because why, okay, riddle me this. Why would you create a partition marked OS that's only 2 GB in size? You really think you can install Windows on a 2 GB partition, Dell? Jeez! Okay, so partition 4. So that is... Okay, so we want drive 0. So drive 0... Oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Drive 1 is the other drive, and that currently has a copy of Windows 10 on it. So we actually want to delete all of the partitions on that drive, because I don't use Windows 10 on that. Wait, let me just make sure this is the right one. Yeah, drive 1. Okay, I just don't want to delete any of the utility partitions from Dell. So yeah, that's all Windows 10. So we're going to wipe that out. Drive 1, partition 2, yeah, we're just going to totally wipe that out. And yeah, because I don't want to install Windows on, I don't want to have 2 operating systems. Yeah, okay, so the ESP is what Dell put on there. That's the drive I want to install Windows to. That's the drive that will be initialized. So let's create the partition. And we'll go ahead and assign it a drive letter once we're in Windows. And now we'll install to drive 0. And there we go. So it does look like that it looks like Microsoft changed some of the wording that you see here. I know it looks a little washed out. Let me zoom in a little bit more. so you can see a little bit better what Windows Server 2022's setup looks like. Yeah, it looks very similar to Windows 10. Now here's something interesting about Windows Server 2022. Windows Server 2022, you would think, would be based off of Windows 11, but it's not. Windows Server 2022 is actually based off of Windows 10 version 21H2, or 21H2. So, yeah, Windows Server 2022, despite Microsoft stating that it has the exact same system requirements as Windows 11, unofficially, any server capable of running Windows Server 2019 is essentially guaranteed to be compatible with Windows Server 2022. Now, don't go quoting me on that, but basically, yeah, if your server can run 2019, it can run 2022. So basically, this is what I'm interested to see, because I personally have never used Windows Server 2022. The last server I had, which was on that ran Windows, my PowerEdge T110-2, which I sold, had Windows Server 2019 on it, and I sold it. I did a fresh install of Server 2019 and sold it and I just took the data drive out of it because, I wanted my data, obviously. And, yeah, and I might stick it in this server, too. I am going to have a 2016 box because I did, hint, spoilers, there will be a video of me setting up another Dell PowerEdge, which will have Windows Server 2016 on it, spoilers, because I obtained a free Windows Server 2016 license from work, so I figured, why the hell not? And, but I want to play with Server 2022. I really want to play with it and just see what it's like, see what's new, what Microsoft added, and I'm interested to see if the server manager is still in 2022, because if for those who are familiar with Windows Server 2019, when you open Server Manager, it says, hey, you should try Windows Admin Center, and I think that's more of like an Intune or Azure thing. But yeah, I would like to see if Microsoft removed Server Manager from Server 2022. That would be very interesting to see if that's actually still present in the OS. So yeah. And it's also funny because one of the clients at my day job, yes, I also run my own small personal business, for those who don't know, and I have my own set of residential and small business clients. I'm actually going to be very busy this weekend, so please excuse the delay in getting a video up for June. But yeah, I wanted to point out that I'm going to be going into the city on Saturday, and then Sunday I'm making an eBay sale in Point Pleasant. I'm selling one of my old 20-inch iMacs because I have two of them and I really only need one, and I wanted to make some money off of them. And the one I'm selling has inferior specifications to the other iMac that I have. It just does. One of them has an Intel video card, the other one has an NVIDIA GPU, so I'm obviously keeping the one with the NVIDIA GPU. But yeah, anyways, I would like to see what's new in Windows Server 2022, because I've been using Windows Server since 2003, and yes, I did play a little bit with Windows 2000 Server, mostly Advanced Server. I had a Dell PowerEdge, I actually don't remember the model, it might have been a 1400, I think, and I installed Windows. It originally came with Windows NT 4.0 Server, but that was the first server I ever experienced, and I installed Windows 2000 Advanced Server and promoted it to a domain controller, and was able to set up a little network. This is like back in the days of Windows XP. This is like 2004 when I did this, which means I would have been 7 years old. Yeah, I know, hard to believe a 7-year-old would know how to work with Windows Server. But yeah, no, it was Uncle Arthur, actually. He came over to the house, and even though Uncle Arthur was very technical, he didn't have a lot of server experience. but he knew enough about Windows Server to help me at least install Windows 2000 Advanced Server, get it on the network, get it on my parents' home network, which we had DSL, and we had a DSL modem and Wi-Fi at that time, so we got it on the network. And then I sort of pissed my dad off because I upgraded my Dell Dimension 4600C, my second computer. I went from Windows XP Home Edition to Windows XP Professional to get domain joining functionality, and I joined it to my Server 2000 domain, and then the way I pissed my dad off, his computer, because when I got my second computer, my Dell Dimension 4600C, my dad ordered a Dell Dimension, I believe it was an 8200 or 8250, one of the two, and it came with XP Pro. He ordered it with XP Pro, and then of course when my dad dissolved his original law firm, I got a lot of computers from there. I got a Dell Dimension E510 and a Dell Optiplex GX270, and I pissed my dad off in two ways, actually. One was by joining his home computer to the domain, and then he had no idea how to log on to it. I'm like, oh, you just got to log in using your credentials that I made in Active Directory. He's like, what the hell is Active Directory? But anyways, so ultimately, I set him up to log in locally on that computer and just not use the domain controller at all. But my computer's all logged onto the DC, and I had a file server set up on there, and that's how I started getting into Windows Server. I would like to start setting up stuff like FTP server and IIS, but for right now, I think this is going to be my new primary domain controller. That won't be in tonight's video. I'll probably, for those who, I honestly, I don't know if it's worth showing me promoting this to a domain controller and setting up AD and all that good stuff and DNS, DHCP. But to be honest, I think I'd rather just get the basics done tonight, at least get the operating system installed, set the static IP information, and then set up static IP, and then and then once the static IP's been set, then I'll be ready to promote to a domain controller, and maybe I'll install the role tonight. I don't really know. Maybe I'll just do the promotion. You know what? Just for you guys, I'm going to promote this to a DC on camera. So, you know what? I've rambled on long enough about my first experiences with Windows Server 2000, Server 2003, 2008, and so on and so forth. So I'll pause the video here, charge my camera battery, which is on its last legs, and I'll come back when this is done, when we're at the desktop. I won't even show the OOBE unless it's vastly different from 2019, but let's see. Back in a flash. Okay, here we are at the Windows Server 2022 desktop. Oh man, this is cool. Alright, so first things first, let's get the date and time fixed because it's in the wrong time zone. We are not in the Pacific time zone. We are in the Eastern time zone, so we'll fix that. And the date is correct. We will do additional calendars later. And if you're curious, Server Manager is still here, believe it or not. Looks the same as it did in 2012 Server, but yeah, Server Manager's still here. So right off the bat, what I noticed that's different about Windows Server 2022 is some of the icons that you saw in 2019 have been changed. It includes Microsoft Edge and removes Internet Explorer, because obviously this month, actually, as of the time of recording this, Internet Explorer is being laid to rest officially. It's about frickin' time, and Microsoft is trying to pitch the idea of going to Edge for everybody. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this. I know I will. But honestly, on my daily driver, which runs Windows 11, I use Microsoft Edge. I know I'm a traitor to the whole tech world, but there's a reason why I use Edge. Did I even hit... Okay, I hit record. For some reason, I thought I didn't hit record. I'm like, oh my god, don't tell me I did that. Anyways, yeah, so basically, We're just gonna do, I'm just doing Ninite here, doing my usual spiel when I install a new version of Windows or, you know, a new operating system or whatever. I guess I can install, I don't know, does VLC run on Windows Server? Well, we'll find out. Ninite will skip it if it can't run on here. But yeah, Windows Server 2022, as I said, is based off of Windows 10 version 21H2. So as you can see, it's got the Windows 10 1903 and later desktop background, and it really looks very similar to 2019. And personally, you know me, I mean, I've always, I mean, I know some, and this is another thing I get a lot of hate from with other techs, but personally, I like to run the latest, when it comes to Microsoft and Apple software, I like to run the latest and greatest version of the operating system. And I know what people are saying, Ben, why don't you just wait until they work the bugs out? Well, yeah, I could. Well, yeah, I mean, I could, but honestly, I just like to be able to use the latest and greatest operating system and not have to worry about upgrading. And, you know, obviously when the next version of Windows Server comes out, I'll do an in-place upgrade to that, and who knows where I'll be at that time. I may be in Israel for all we know. Yeah, actually, for those who don't know, because of what's been happening in this country, and I think, I'll say this without getting political, but yeah, you know, one thing about the United States that which makes me so disappointed in the U.S. is the gun control. There have been so many shootings that have happened in the last couple weeks, and it's absurd, and you'd think the government would do something about it. Anyways, though, I'm not going to get too political. I promised I wasn't going to get political. I may cut that part out because I think I got a little too political there. But anyways, okay, so Ninite's good. The next thing I'd like to do is head over to the command line, and I'd like to run ipconfig whack all, and I'd like to see what IP we've got. We have an IP of 10.0.0.26. Because I'm promoting to a DC, let's go to the control panel, if it's still here. Yet, the old control panel is still here. I was afraid I was going to get an error saying, sorry, there is no old control panel anymore. So Ethernet 2 is the iDRAC, so we're not going to be, actually no, it's not the iDRAC, I'm sorry, it's the backup NIC. Alright, so let's assign the static IP here. So, oh, I guess I can't have, okay. Well, I think I remember it. It was 10.0.0.26, right? 10, where was it? 10.0.0.26. So we'll assign this an IP of 10.0.0.26. Classful, I believe it's a classful A net mask. No, it's actually a classless classful C subnet mask. So it should be 255.255.0. Default gateway for most Comcast modems is 10.0.0.1. For IP. Now this is something that Windows 2000 server doesn't let you do. If you type in 10, if you set it to loopback using 127.0.0.1, Windows 2000 will not let you set that IP address for your primary DNS server. It will tell you, hey idiot, that's reserved for loopback. You can't do that. But anyways, okay, so we've assigned a static IP. The next order of business is to rename our server. Let's make sure we're activated though. So we'll head on over to System, About. Yes, so this is where we rename. So we're on Windows Server 2022 Standard. Shows that 21H2. I was correct. Yep, it looks like we are activated. I don't see any warning about Windows not being activated. So let's rename this PC. We're going to call this Klein server, which is what I always call my servers, or at least my primary DC. So we're going to go ahead and restart now. Yep, we got to choose a reason why we're restarting, and once we reboot, our system will be renamed as Klein server. Then the next thing we'll do is promote to a domain controller, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Again, this is not really going to be like a class or a tutorial on how to set up a domain controller, but I thought you guys might enjoy seeing how I do it and how I set up a brand new server when I first unpack a server and get it out of the box. So to recap what we've done so far, we've installed the OS, we've installed the basic applications, we've renamed the server to a more friendly name, and we have set a static IP address. The source boot policy was modified. Yeah, yeah, I don't really care. I would like to just boot off the hard drive, please. Thank you. There we go. Okay. I thought there was some post error. I'm like, are you serious? A brand new server throwing a post error? I actually thought it might have something to do with the chassis intrusion switch because, you know, because this does have a chassis intrusion, but whoever invented the chassis intrusion switch needs to be punched. I'm sorry, they just do, because that was the most annoying feature on a lot of Dell systems from the mid-2000s had chassis intrusion switches. Dude, it was just, oh my god, it was the most annoying feature ever to have those freaking chassis intrusion switches. Oh yeah, and if you're curious, the out-of-box experience for Windows Server 2022 is no different than 2019. So you didn't miss anything. I decided to do that off camera because there's no difference. If you've seen Windows Server 2016 and 2019, then you've seen 2022's out-of-box experience. There's nothing to see here, folks, as Officer Barb Brady from South Park would say. Okay, so when Server Manager comes up here, we will now promote this server to a domain controller. How do you do that, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you did. We're going to close out of this, and we're going to go to the Manage tab here and click on Add Roles or Features. Oh, never mind. We can't do that yet because it's collecting data. So I guess we have to wait. Never mind. You see what happens when you're impatient, kids? Alright, let's try again. There we go. Okay. Role by role is what we want to do. We want to set it on client server, obviously. We're going to set up Active Directory domain services, and it's going to tell us that we need to install these other features. So we'll say Add Features. We will set this up as a DNS server as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. And now we will click Next. We don't really need any of these additional features. Win server, that's still here? Why is that still here? Holy crap, well, there's Windows Subsystem for Linux. But I think that was in Windows Server 2019. Yeah, Wins? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we can I'll probably be using this server for more than just AD DNS. Oh, and it even tells you about Azure AD. Ooh, fancy, fancy. Alright, so, yep, we want to install the roles. So this is basically the first thing I always do when promoting to a domain controller. Well, first you got to install the role. You can't just promote to a DC. You actually need to install the role first. So I'm going to install AD and DNS on here. And then I'll show you how to promote to a domain controller once you have once you've installed the Active Directory role on here. And I may do some Hyper-V virtualization on here. I don't think I will do that right now, but maybe later I'll install Hyper-V, because with a server standard license, you can install, I believe you get one virtual machine that you can run on a Windows Server standard system. Windows Server, I believe it's Data Center, if I'm not mistaken, is the edition name, would let you have multiple virtual machines, but I don't need that many virtual machines. I just need one. Well, I don't even need one, that's the thing. I may install, who knows, maybe if I get another Windows license, I'll install Windows in a VM and just, have a second virtual machine to play with. But if I do that, I'm definitely upgrading the RAM, because 8 gigabytes of RAM is not even close to enough to be able to run a virtual machine, especially if it's running anything newer than Windows Server 2016. I mean, 2016 I could probably get away with using 2 gigs, but 2019 and higher, there's no way. No way. So, alright, so it looks like it's still installing here, but that's okay. I mean, this usually does take a little while. I can hear the disk spinning a little bit. And yeah, as far as my PowerEdge SC430, I'd like to talk about why I'm retiring it. I may have talked about this earlier in the video, so I'll cut this out. long story short, the PowerEdge SC430 and from my Google searching, the PowerEdge SC420 have a BIOS incompatibility. Yeah, that will prevent you from running Windows Server 2012 or higher on it. Okay, so there we go. We've successfully installed the roles. Now we can promote to a DC. So we'll bring this window up here. So we're going to say add domain controller to an existing domain. Nope. Add to an existing forest. Nope. We are going to add to a new forest. And our domain name shall be Kleinberg, not Kleinberg B. Let me try that again. Kleinberg.local is what we shall name our domain. We'll say next. And forest functionality level. We're on Windows Server 2016. That's the only option we can do. We can only go down to 2016. Okay. So DNS server is what we're going to do. Global root. We will type in a password, the directory services restore mode password. Let me think of a password that I can use. Oh, I know. Type the directory restore password. A delegation cannot be created because these are already paired. Yeah, that's a very default error. So NetBIOS, why is that? See, it's like Microsoft doesn't. It's like they're still doing legacy. They still have these legacy protocols. So yeah, looks like the NetBIOS name is Kleinberg, Kleinberg. Yep, that's correct. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like, why is NetBIOS still here? You haven't had to use NetBIOS since like Windows Me, the last version of Windows 9X. Anyways. Okay, let's see. So NetBIOS name. Make sure that's spelled right. Kleinberg.local. Yes, that is what I want my domain name to be. Next. Prerequisites check. Okay. Yeah, Microsoft makes it a lot easier to promote to a DC than they have in previous versions of Windows Server. Although what's funny is, yep, all prerequisites have been passed. Wow, wow, look at this, guys. Let me zoom in on that one warning up there. Windows NT 4.0 in 2022. 26 years after Windows NT 4.0 launched. It just goes to show even Microsoft doesn't get with the times sometimes. Alright, let's promote to a DC. Oh, and it even shows that warning there too. I could have just clicked install and show you guys. But yeah, basically this is how you promote to a domain controller. Very straightforward, very easy to do. Personally though, I like the Windows 2K server and Windows Server 2003 animation when you were promoting to a DC because it had the little book and the pencil and it would write down. I used to try to do that in school, I'll be honest. It's like how Billy Core from the Nostalgia Mall, he had the drumming fingers in the Windows 98. I did that too. I would go like on my desk at school whenever I saw that on our Windows 98 boxes in elementary school. But yeah, no, I remember the funny thing was I remember that I used to try to write as fast. Oh, it's going to restart. But yeah, I would try to write just as fast as the animation in Windows Server 2000 and Windows Server 2003 would go. You know, just to copy that. So, okay, looks like we're restarting, and as soon as we reboot, we should be domain joined. What am I saying? This server will be promoted to a DC. So, it is restarting. And once we restart here, we will be promoted to a domain controller. So yeah, Microsoft makes it so it's just as easy to install the primary DC as it was in Windows Server 2012 and later. To be honest, Windows Server really hasn't changed much since 2016. I'm interested to see what the next version of Windows Server will be like, though, because you know, Windows Server 2016 was based on Windows 10 1607, Server 2019 was based on Windows 10 1809, and Server 2022 is based on Windows 10 21H2. So, as you see, it looks very similar to Windows 10, but yeah, I would be intrigued to see what Microsoft does for the next version of Windows Server. I would really be intrigued to see if they make it look more like Windows 11 with the centered taskbar and the new user interface and icons and all that good stuff. And there's a reason why I purchased this server with a TPM 2.0, because I know that Microsoft is probably going to require a TPM 2.0 with the next version of Windows and a more modern processor. So because of that, I decided to purchase a server that would be essentially guaranteed to be able to run the next version of Windows Server. Okay, applying computer settings. Now this usually takes a little bit after you first promote to a DC, but let's see what we get here. And I'm actually going to grab my MacBook Air and attempt to join it to the domain so that we can see if we have the ability to join domains. So let me go grab my MacBook. I shall be right back. And now I can't find my MacBook Air. Wonderful! But hey, we're still waiting for this to come up, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, never mind. Matzati et ze mitafat lesefel. Yes, I was speaking Hebrew there. Basically, matzati et ze mitafat lesefel means I found it under a book. So, yep. Okay, so we're going to go to network here. Actually, no, I want to go, I think if I remember correctly, in Mac OS, you go to accounts. Or no, users and groups. I'm sorry, users and groups. No, I have to type my password again. Okay, there we go. Login items, okay. Or login options. So let's edit. We're going to unbind from that. Oh, jeez. Well, it's not going to be able to contact the DC because my old DC is gone, but we can unbind anyways. There we go. All right, we've unbound from the old DC. We shall now log in. We shall now log in to the new DC and go ahead and go with the promotion and see if we can join clients to it. Oh, that's interesting. So on the welcome screen it was showing that I had no internet, but on the desktop down there in the notification area it shows that I have internet access. Okay. I do know that's somewhat of a common problem when you first promote to a DC and set up a DHCP server, but yeah, anyways, okay. So let's do some tests. Before we do anything, let's get this laptop. I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to do this off camera, but I'll show it when I get there. So here we go. So we're going to go to the network control panel applet, advanced, DNS, and we're going to do 8888 and we're going to do 10.0.0.26, which is the IP of the server. Search domains. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. I have to memorize that because I forgot how annoying that is. hsd1.nj.comcast.com. So 10.0.0.26 hsd1.nj.comcast.net. hsd1.nj.comcast.net. We'll add that. And the other domain is kleinberg.local. Okay. Apply. And now sometimes, and I never understood why you have to do this, but sometimes you have to enter the full NetBIOS domain, or the full NetBIOS domain, the full FQDN to join the domain, and sometimes you have to do it through, you have to type the NetBIOS name. So why you have to do that, I don't know. But anyways, let's open directory utility. And let's just try it through directory utility. So we're going to click Active Directory, and the domain is kleinberg.local. And let's see if we can bind it. So, actually I don't have my account created, so I'll have to use the administrator account. And if it doesn't work, then we can do it through just the NetBIOS name. So yeah. I don't know why sometimes I have to do NetBIOS and sometimes I have to do, yeah, so an Active Directory domain controller could not be established. So or cannot be contacted. So we're gonna try this. We're gonna do using client NetBIOS name. And an Active Directory domain controller could not be contacted. Interesting. Okay, so let's go to the terminal and make sure we can ping. So let's make sure we can ping. Yep, it's pingable. Now let's try pinging by hostname. Okay, so client server is not resolved. Let's see, let's try it without the quotes. Okay. So it's not seeing the server, so that's why we're getting that error. So we have internet access. Is the server reachable? Let's see. Let's try going to Google. Yep, we've got internet access. And just like that, I have added my first MacBook Air to the my MacBook Air to the DC. And to prove it, I will go into AD Users and Computers right here. And there it is, BenK-MBA. So, yep, we now have a fully functional domain controller. So the next thing to do is to set up DNS. I'm probably going to do that off camera. Really, there's some more advanced stuff that I'd like to do. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. We need to go into disk management because we have... Oh, did it already assign a drive letter to it? Wait, what? Really? Oh, no it didn't. Okay, yeah, I was going to say. So yeah, it's this guy here, disk 1. Change drive letter and path, add, we'll assign it letter E, and boom, now it should show up in my computer, or in the File Explorer. Yep, look, oh, it's not formatted yet. Okay, well we can do that. I'm not sure why it didn't format it, but we can do it. Yeah, so we'll say new volume, we'll call this data, NTFS, default, quick format. Yes. Erase the data. Okay. Now we should be able to access it. Aha! There we go. Okay. Anyways, so there's your basic setup for you. I just got TeamViewer set up. My camera battery's about to die, so I think this is a good stopping point for tonight. Thank you so much, Grandma Kleinberg, for your generous contribution to help me buy this server. I am eternally grateful, just like the little alien guys in Toy Story. Take care, guys. Catch you in the next one. If you like what you saw, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. They help out a lot. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.